All right, so now we're on.
Okay, episode 8, part 4, the big, beautiful tax bill, which, as many times as they've said, it won't hurt Medicare, it won't hurt Medicaid, it's doing both, and even for, okay, let's just cut to the heart of it. These are things that are going to hurt all of us, because your average hospital doctor, whatever, about 40 to 60% of their profit, if not more, comes from people who are on Medicare or Medicaid, which means they might go out of business if this happens, and then you don't have anybody to go to, and you get the idea. Your insights into
maybe you could explain why do they have to cut Medicaid?
They don't, but they
why do they need that money?
The bottom line is that money is effectively being funneled into tax cuts for the 1%.
There you go.
Which they already have those tax cuts. Most of those tax cuts, some of them were going to expire, but again, at its best, this is trickle down economics. And when I say at its best, I mean it's bullshit, but that makes more sense than anything else. It still doesn't make any sense. It's still bullshit, but it gets even dumber if you look beyond that.
Right, and when they try to explain this stuff, it's so stupid.
And again, they've been trying this shit for over 40, 50 years. It's not like we have to say, oh, we don't know if it'll work. We've seen how it doesn't work. We can give you the theory, but we can also show you it line by line by line, year after year after year.
Right, I think we've already explained why it doesn't.
Yeah,
but
okay. Well, just to explain, the theory is, hey, you take Mr. Billionaire so-and-so and you let him as a company keep more of his money. He's going to hire more people or build more factories or whatever, and that's going to help everybody. But the problem is it doesn't happen. After X dollar more that he gets to keep, he just keeps it. That's it. He puts it into savings or he puts it into the stock market or whatever, but it doesn't trickle back anywhere.
Right.
So
that's exactly right. So, the idea that the corporations would get the money and then they would invest in their corporation and they would pay their employees handsomely. But the exact opposite happened, because now they have no incentive whatsoever, because what incentivized them in the past was, if your company itself makes more than a certain amount of money, you're taxed at like 50-something%. So you better just invest that into the company, because then you can write those off, those investments. So people are just investing left and right in the company, into future endeavors and things like that. And then also, the personal tax code, if you made more than a certain amount of money, you were taxed up to 90-something% in America's heyday. The day when they say make America great again, that was what was making America great again. Economically.
Irony alert, yeah.
Right. Economically, we were great then. Agreed. We were. Why? The 90% tax rate, which was cut to 89 or something by Eisenhower, and then eventually got down to about 78, I believe, under Carter, or somewhere around there. Like I said, I don't have the exact numbers.
And then it dropped fast.
And then Reagan, and then it went down to like 28. And look what we've seen since. Because the theory was backwards. What was incentivizing them to pay well and invest was the taxes. Because if I pay myself too much, or I pay these dividends out to these shareholders too much, they don't get that money. So I might as well pay the employees. I might as well invest in my company, So that's what they did, because they were forced to. They're like, we don't want the government to force us to do anything. Yeah, if it's not what you like. So you don't want them to force you to pay taxes, and you don't want them to force you not to be a racist, bigot, misogynist. That's the only thing you don't want the government to do with these people. When I say you, I mean these people. And if you're one of these guys, I'm talking to you. That's the only, you make America great again. Yeah. The racist bigot you are. And, that's because you don't understand the tax rate, and this is what made America great. It was the unions. It was the socialism. It was the social programs, the free schools like we talked about, that was making this America great, But you took that all away because you'd rather be broke than woke.
Oh, which reminds me of something else that is in the bill, is that taking away a lot of the school lunch money and stuff.
Yes, because you're just so full of it, and you just fed into all this hate, into all these lies, and twisted your own brains around to think that this is some moral, cause behind this because, laziness is the worst possible thing you can be in this culture. If you're not in the hype and you're not grinding every day, you're just not worth anything. And like I said before in maybe a couple segments ago, like, you're worth it because you were born. You don't have to prove your worth through your wages. That's ridiculous. So, but that's what they want you to think.
Well, and like one thing that I just recently, and I feel bad about only realizing this recently, but the poverty line, it's like here, and then the minimum wage. The minimum wage gets you this much under the poverty line.
Right.
That's insane.
Yep.
Because so many employers say, hey, I'm paying that much more over the minimum wage, so I'm a good guy, right? Yeah, but you're still not up here. So you're still paying people poverty wages. Like,
look, if you're not making over $100,000 a year, you're in fucking poverty if you have a family. Like, that's how ridiculous shit it's gotten.
Well, if you live around here anyways, yeah.
Yeah, if you're talking about housing and food and school, and if you have to put your kid in daycare at $2,000 a month for a kid, isn't that what it costs, like, almost, or something?
At least, over 1,000.
Over
and,
1,000.
And again, the daycare workers aren't seeing that, so it's not like they're getting rich or anything. I mean,
so you get my point,
Yes,
though.
yeah,
Add
yeah.
that shit up.
Yeah.
And see where it takes you. And if you don't have generational wealth involved with that, and where you're going to go, and you're 200,000 in debt for college, and now you can't even find a job because they got rid of all those, especially if you work for the government. So, your government shouldn't provide jobs. Yeah, they should. They're fucking good jobs, and you get pensions, and there's all kinds of cool shit about working for the government. But a lot of people, when they came out of the military, think about it, man. So many of these people went in the post office. They worked for the state.
That's like somebody made the point the other day that the only thing the government seems to really care about is the military, but they don't care about the men and women who work for the military. They just want all the big weapons and shit.
Yeah. I just want to be able to go kick ass somewhere. Bomb shit. You get a thrill out of that, of being the bully of the world. So, yeah, so they're going to come in there and they're going to say, oh, we're cutting taxes on tips. But if you look at
that's hilarious because apart from other things, one of the first things that popped out that almost everybody noticed was it only counts for cash tips.
Yeah.
Well, if you've ever... Okay, several things. One, if you eat out at all, when was the last time that you paid your tip in cash? I mean, most of your server's tips are not going to be in cash. But second, if you've ever worked as a server, you're not reporting most of your cash tips.
So basically, what they actually did was they're going to make money off of this because if you declare your cash tips, you're losing out now because you would have got all that. So they can't lose. So this whole thing is so stupid. So you can't.
Well, and working in something like food service, it's always this mental gymnastics of what can I get away with and blah blah blah. And so like if let's say your 20% of your earnings is cash tips and 80 is credit card, well, you're probably going to not report all of your cash tips,
right? Because
they already know what you made in the rest of this, and so you can't fudge that. So. Anyways, you get the idea. But that's what most people in that situation would do. Well, why are they going to turn around and report their cash tips now just because, I won't get taxed on it? Yeah, but you weren't even reporting it before.
First of all, I wasn't getting taxed at all. Now I will.
Yeah. It's laughable on so many levels. It's not even...
So they tricked people into thinking that you're going to get a tax break on your tips that you don't declare.
And even
but
then,
now you got to declare it.
Even if you get anything back, it's you get it back. It's not an upfront thing. It's not an upfront. You don't pay. You still pay.
And then they give you a rebate at some point.
It's a rebate, right?
Yeah, at some point in time.
Oh.
These people, give me 5, give me 10. I'll give you 5 back.
I probably shouldn't waste 2 minutes, but just to jump off there, it's like when they said that they weren't going to get taxed on overtime. Well, the funny thing is what MAGA really wants to do is not pay overtime to begin with. So of course you're not going to get taxed on it if you didn't make it.
If you look into any of this stupidity, it's just so dumb. So anything that they're talking about for tax breaks for the middle class,
you need to look twice at it if you think it's a good deal.
If anything, I think under scrutiny, I think I was watching. It's actually going to go up. You're actually going to get taxed more under this bill. Well, at the end of the day, you're going to be paying more. and they're going to be paying less.
And the insane part is,
and then they're going to cut Medicaid.
I think it was like 4%. Maybe it was higher than 4%. It was at least 4%. That what they said was the lowest earning quartile, whatever the term is.
Whatever.
That group is going to be paying 4% more. And the highest group, your 1%ers, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be paying about 4% less. So explain that. How
and
that
4% for these guys is billions. In
right.
So,
or millions at least, yeah. And
billions. I mean,
but you're literally saying, okay, we're going to make the people who can't afford to live pay more, and the people who don't think twice about the majority of this stuff pay even less.
Right. And cut Medicaid so people die.
Right. Yeah.
How's this helping anyone? How's this helping anyone?
Except as I explained when we first started this, it's not just Medicaid. Medicaid is such a big part of our system that it's going to affect almost anybody who has health care.
That's going to be true.
It's going to get health care across the board.
That's going to be a true trickle-down effect.
Yeah. Well, trickle-on effect. Yeah.
Trickle down or up, whatever. Side,
yeah.
Whatever the fuck you want to call it. But like, it's going to cascade.
Yes.
It's going to come down, and it's going to, and okay, that's just the economic factor. What about the humanitarian? I mean, more than anything, toss out the economics, and I've tossed out the economics a long time ago. This is freaking inhumane and sick, twisted, that we would even be talking about this. It's some kind of what we call civilized, a bunch of savages, that's what they are.